this video, I'll show you how to troubleshoot and solve the 218 positioner valve error on the Pure Ballast 3.2 EX system. This error usually means the valve failed to open properly during operation. First, I tried to operate the valve manually from the remote control panel, but it didn't respond. The valve remained closed and the error message stayed on. And I also tried to operate the valve manually from the local control. The result was the same, the valve didn't respond. To do this, I pressed the hand button to switch from auto to manual mode. Then I pressed the plus button to open the valve and the minus button to close it. I checked the supply air pressure to the positioner and it was normal within the acceptable range. So the problem wasn't due to low or missing air supply. I also tried to calibrate or initialize the valve, but it failed at run 1. To do this, I long pressed the hand button for 10 seconds to enter parameter mode, selected parameter 4 in ETA, then long pressed the plus button to start the initialization. Next, I closed the air supply completely and tried to operate the valve again, using the remaining pressure inside the line. This time, the valve opened correctly as commanded. Then I tried to calibrate the valve again. This time, the calibration completed successfully. But when I opened the main air supply, the same error appeared again. At this point, I concluded that the issue was likely related to the pneumatic system of the positioner or actuator, rather than a mechanical issue with the butterfly valve itself. This system uses a double-acting actuator. During open or close operations, one airline from the positioner should supply air to the actuator, while the other should vent back. This allows the piston inside the actuator to move and operate the valve. Gave the open command from the positioner and checked the two airlines Y1 and Y2 between the positioner and actuator. I found that both lines were supplying air at full pressure to the actuator, instead of one supplying and the other venting. This indicated a malfunction in the internal air control of the positioner. Then I checked the voltage supply from the PCB to the pneumatic block. There are 4 electrical connection points between them. When the open valve signal is given, one pair of terminals supplies positive 22 volts, and the other pair gives negative 22 volts simultaneously. When the close valve command is given, the voltages switch to positive 22 volts and negative 22 volts are reversed. This confirms that the PCB is sending the correct signal to the pneumatic control section. Since the electrical signal was normal, I suspected there was an internal fault in the pneumatic components. So I decided to remove the pneumatic block from the positioner and inspect it. First, I removed the PCB which was covering the pneumatic block by taking out 2 screws. Next, I removed 5 screws that secured the pneumatic block to the positioner casing. Then, I removed 3 more screws that held the 3 layers of the pneumatic stack together. Inside, I found that one of the springs was out of place, although I wasn't sure if it happened during disassembly. I carefully cleaned the inside of the block, the spool, and valve parts, then applied silicone grease to all moving parts. Finally, I reassembled the pneumatic stack, secured everything back into the positioner, and made sure all screws were tightened properly. After I reassembled everything and tried to operate the valve, it did open, but the command and the actual valve movement didn't respond correctly. So I performed the calibration again using the same procedure. But this time it failed at run 2. To solve this, I adjusted the friction clutch adjustment wheel until it showed like this. Before turning the adjustment wheel, I first unlocked it by rotating the yellow wheel clockwise. After completing the adjustment, I locked it back in place. Then I pressed the plus button to continue the calibration process, and this time it was successful. I tested the valve with different open positions, and it followed the commands correctly and operated smoothly. Then I tried to operate the valve from the remote control panel, but it still showed a valve error, even though the valve was actually in the correct position as per the command. So I opened the limit switch box located under the positioner. Inside there are two cam wheels, one yellow and one red, which operate the 4 limit switches. I found that the cam wheels were not in the correct positions. The yellow cam wheel should press the 2 micro switches when the valve is fully closed, and the red cam wheel should press the other 2 micro switches when the valve is fully open. I adjusted the cam wheel positions and tested the system again. This time, the valve operated correctly, and the feedback signals to the control panel were also accurate. I did a full test run of the BWTS and everything worked smoothly, no errors. Thank you for watching the video. I hope this helps you solve the same problem if your BWTS ever experiences this issue.